The outer edge of the galaxy stayed quiet for many years. Most star nations avoided this place. They whispered about the blue planet that sat behind silent borders. Humans lived there. Many called it Terran space. The collective did not respect such warnings. They believed fear had made the stories grow large and false. Commander stood on the bridge of his warship and studied the stars. They looked weak and slow to him. His kind came from calm worlds with smooth skies and gentle wildlife. They ruled through order and precision. 2. The idea of a sounded like a poor excuse for keeping secrets. His fleet drifted forward in perfect rows. Scouts moved first, scanning for signs of defense. Only faint signals answered them. No heavy war stations. No large patrols. Just a few research beacons near the border. Felt pleased. He saw this as proof that humans were fragile and hiding behind rumors. Far away on Earth, Captain John Carter watched the alert screen flash red. The warning came from deep space sensors that tracked every approach near Terran limits. The reading was clear. A foreign fleet had crossed the marked line. John did not shout. He did not panic. He simply stared for a long moment and breathed out slowly. He knew the old stories. Everyone in command did. They said the galaxy always tested humans in the end. They said someone would try to step over the line. That time had come. He contacted the Defense Council. Laura Miles joined the channel seconds later. Her eyes showed concern, but her voice was steady. She read the data and nodded. Identification confirmed, she said. They are moving deep, not probing, advancing. John folded his arms. Protocol 1 stays active. No firing unless direct harm comes to our assets. The council agreed, though some faces showed anger. Others showed fear. The old balance between peace and strength felt thin. In deep space gave a calm order. Begin observation strike. Target the nearest Terran outpost. Make it brief. Show them the cost of their arrogance. The outpost was small. A simple research station run by civilian teams and light military support. Inside, technicians noticed power surges and strange shadows forming across the stars. Alarms started to echo through metal halls. Some ran for shields. Others froze in confusion. When the first beam hit, it did not destroy the station. It only scorched the outer frame. Wanted control, not ruin. He wanted the humans to see him and fear him. Back on Earth, emergency signals burst through every channel. John watched the damage feed. He saw broken panels and drifting smoke. His jaw tightened. Laura moved her fingers across screens, reading tactical shapes and energy lines. They want a reaction, she said, but they do not know what kind of reaction they will get. John pressed the command key. Shield the outpost. Send priority evacuation. Keep our response quiet but firm. Human drones and support ships moved fast. Silent pulses wrapped the station in a blue barrier. Emergency crews guided researchers to safety pods. The alien fleet hesitated. They had not expected such smooth recovery. Narrowed his eyes, he sensed no fear, only calm control. That annoyed him more than resistance would have. He turned to his second officer. Summon the backup fleet. I want full display. Let them know resistance is useless. Across the stars, a request signal spread like ripples in a dark ocean. More ships turned toward Terran space. Their glow filled the horizon with sharp, pale light. John saw the expansion on his map. Numbers grew, shapes. He said nothing. Instead, he activated a deep-level system that few ever touched. His authorization opened layers buried beneath civilian networks and public scanners. Something ancient slept there. A low hum echoed through hidden bases under Earth's surface and across distant colonies. Systems that had not moved in years woke up. Metal frames shifted. Engines warmed. Code older than many leaders began to run again. Laura noticed the change. Her face softened slightly. The reserve fleets are coming online, she said. The ones from harsh zones. John nodded. Let them move, but no contact yet. Meanwhile, observed more Terran drones forming defensive arcs. Still no direct assault. Still no panic message. Only a simple boundary warning from a human relay beacon. This region is restricted. Withdraw your fleet. Scoffed, they speak like diplomats, he said, not warriors. He ordered another controlled strike closer to the core of the outpost. The beam cracked one landing arm. Sparks flew into vacuum. Still, the station stayed alive. Inside the battered structure, Engineer Oliver King dragged a wounded to a safe hatch. He worked with clenched teeth, ignoring fear. Medics moved through smoke with steady hands. Every motion showed discipline shaped by long training. That same discipline flowed through the command centers on Earth. John watched status bars and naval readiness climb. Calm voices filled the room, never breaking into chaos. Laura leaned closer to him. We are ready when you say the word. Not yet, he answered. Let them keep showing who they are. As hours passed, ships anchored around the border. Felt certain the humans would surrender soon. He imagined them begging for mercy, opening their worlds for control. Instead, something else changed the silence. Deep in the void, heavy pulses rolled like distant thunder. Gravitational markers flared in places that had been empty. Strange distortions twisted light and time. The scouts pulled back slightly, confused by the readings. Stood still, his confidence wavered for the first time. Report, he demanded. Unknown mass signatures, a technician replied. Not in standard range, moving faster than expected. One by one, enormous shapes began to form. Not sleek, not graceful, they looked solid and heavy. Their hulls bore no smooth beauty, only strength and purpose. They moved like hunters who knew their prey well. On the lead vessel stood Commander Brooks. His face was calm, his posture relaxed, but his eyes carried sharp focus. Beside him, Pilot Stone adjusted manual controls. She trusted instinct more than clean numbers. Visual contact confirmed, she said. Nodded, open channels but keep shields hot. The first Terran battle group entered the zone without fanfare. No taunts, no greeting banners, only silent readiness. Behind them followed more ships from distant colonies where gravity crushed bones and storms never rested. People who had grown strong under pressure manned every station. John watched their arrival from Earth and allowed himself a slight breath of relief. The line was forming. When saw the full scale of the new arrivals, his crest twitched in unease. This was not what he had expected. He had ordered backup for power display, but now he felt like the surface beneath him had shifted. Still, pride held his voice firm. Maintain position, he declared. We will not be intimidated by strange design. On the lead human ship stepped forward into the light of his bridge. The channel opened. His voice flowed across the void, slow and clear. This is Terran Defense Command. You have violated protected space. Withdraw or face response. Replied with cool defiance. We came to show order. This region belongs to none. Stand down. Did not raise his voice. You were warned. This is not a place for conquest. The standoff built like a pulled wire ready to snap. Both fleets hovered. Weapons charged. Shields flared faintly like sleeping shields. On Earth, Laura whispered more to herself than to anyone else. They should have listened. John kept his eyes on the distant clash area. He knew part one of something larger had begun. The test of Earth had finally arrived, and the silence of space now trembled with the presence of humans who had survived a ruthless and would not bend easily. The silence between the two fleets did not last long. Silence never did when fear and pride shared the same space. The stars between the ships and the Terran war group looked calm, but every sensor and every hand was tense. On the bridge of the lead Terran ship, Brooks watched the tactical display. His eyes traced the neat arc of alien vessels that had formed a cage around the damaged research outpost. He saw how they moved, how they kept distance, how they watched but held back. They like order, he said softly. Stone sat at the main flight chair and ran one hand along the control rim. And they think order will save them, she replied. She had grown up on a heavy gravity station near a storm world. Her muscles remembered long days of moving through crushing weight. This ship felt light to her. The tension she felt now did not come from strain on her body. It came from knowing how close the galaxy had drifted to a fire line. John Carter listened to their voices from the command center on Earth. The link carried only a slight delay. He heard calm, not panic. That gave him strength. "Commander Brooks," John said over the channel, "you are clear to hold the line. Defensive posture only. If they cross the inner mark, you act." "Understood," answered. On the opposite side of the void, Commander felt his patience thin. The humans did not behave as he had imagined. They did not rush forward or beg for terms. They did not broadcast fear. They simply held a quiet line that felt more like a warning than a barrier. His second officer spoke in a low tone. "Commander, the backup fleets report full readiness. They await your signal to encircle and press advance." Stared at the human ships. He noted the strange shapes. Some hulls showed scars and rough plating from many past repairs. No soft silver shine. No aligned decorative lights. These vessels looked built for survival first, appearance last. "They are not elegant," he said, "but they are not weak either." He wondered just for a moment if the old stories might hold some truth. Stories of a world where storms ripped across continents, where beasts hunted from both sky and ground, where the air itself could turn against its people. He pushed those thoughts away. Fear had built those tailies. Fear always lied. "Forward scout wings," ordered, "move closer. We will test their resolve, no lethal shots yet. Aim to pressure." Fighters slipped ahead of the main line. Their engines burned with pale light. They formed a tight arrow and surged toward the human formation. On display, new red symbols lit up. "Here they come," said. Tapped a sequence on the console. "Front screen to manual. Let them get close enough to see our eyes." The view shifted from tactical icons to direct visual. The alien fighters grew larger, like stinging insects racing toward a wall of deep steel, allowed them to reach the marked limit. "No weapons," he reminded the crew. "Shields only. We show restraint first, always first." The alien fighters fired lines of energy across the human hulls. Bright streaks splashed against shield layers, leaving ripples of light that faded quickly. The Terran ships did not move. They did not fire back. They simply held fast. "Shield strength at 98%, a tech officer reported. "No hull damage." Watched the readings. She could almost feel the slight vibration under her boots as energy bled off into deep absorbers. To her, it felt like walking through a mild storm with a good coat on. "They are poking us," she said. "They want us to flinch." Back on the flagship, watched his display. He saw his fighters hit again and again, saw the shield flares but no cracks. The human response stayed maddeningly calm. "They do not even reposition," his second officer said. "It is as if they do not care." Frowned. "All living things care about survival. They simply hide it well." He gave a new order. "Change to a spiral pattern, rush their outer flanks, force them to shift. I want to see how they move." The fighters obeyed. They peeled to the sides and traced tight loops, building speed, then shot toward the human formation from multiple angles. On the Terran bridge, allowed himself a small smile. "They want motion," he said, "so we give them a lesson in it, ready for pattern delta." "With pleasure," she answered. At his signal, the human ships moved. They did not drift slowly. They snapped into action with sudden, aggressive precision. Their heavy hulls crossed paths, sliding through narrow gaps with practiced ease. What had looked like a rigid wall turned into a flowing grid, each ship turning at angles that seemed risky but never collided or lost position. Alien fighters dove in, expecting to find weak points. Instead, they They flew into a maze that changed shape faster than their planning could adapt. Several fighters almost clipped human hulls but pulled away at the last second. Others found their targeting paths blocked by sudden shield arcs. Guided the lead vessel through the dance with steady hands. To her, it felt natural, like moving through heavy rain between falling branches. She kept her breathing slow. "They are shaking," she said quietly. The pilots felt it. They had trained in neat patterns, where each move followed a known rule. This shifting human grid did not respect their habits. The sight of large ships sliding past each other at close range, without error, sent a pulse of unease through their ranks. One fighter misjudged a turn and drifted too close to a Terran frigate. There was a flash, a collision of shields, and the lighter alien craft spun out of control. It did not explode, but its systems failed. It tumbled helplessly until a rescue shuttle grabbed it. Watched the incident with cold eyes. He did not blame the pilot. Fear had reached them. He could sense it. "Pull fighters back to secondary line," he commanded. "We will change tactics." His officers obeyed, but he could feel their questions. His own pride bristled. He had planned to make the humans reveal their weakness. Instead, they had revealed his. On the human side, ordered the ships back into a steady arc. The display showed their new positions, now even more firmly rooted between the outpost and the alien fleet. "Status of the research station?" he asked. "Evacuation 95% complete," came the reply. "Last group boarding support carriers now." John listened to the report and allowed a short exhale. Civilians came first, always. Laura Miles studied the data stream from the alien ships. She had linked old intelligence files with the fresh readings. Lines of numbers and patterns rolled across her screens. "They are bringing more ships into play," she said. "But they are cautious now. Their first plan did not work, so they will step back and think." John looked at her. "How much do they know about us, really?" She shook her head. "They know we are new to the wider stage. They know our world has harsh zones. They know we pushed into difficult colonies, but they do not know what that did to our people. They think we are simply stubborn." "They are going to learn," John said. While he spoke, deeper in Terran space, more warships began to move. These were not regular defense units. They came from places most of the galaxy never visited. One group launched from an orbital ring around a world covered in frozen storms. Its people had learned to live where the air cut like glass and ice quakes shook the ground for days. Another group came from a dense jungle planet where every plant carried hidden toxins, and every step might disturb some lurking beast. Their crews bore scars and steady eyes. Their bodies carried small reminders of the worlds that had shaped them. Some had thickened bones from heavy gravity. Others had old bite marks or long-healed fractures. To them, the idea of fear in open space felt almost amusing. Space was cold and empty. It did not chase you. It did not scream at you in the night. These were the units that many inside human command quietly called. They had trained in places that tried to kill them every day, yet they had stayed and built homes. As their ships joined the main line near Terran space, the pattern changed. Sensors picked up new classes of vessels with strange signatures. "More Terran ships detected," a technician said. "Their energy profiles are irregular. Some run at higher output than standard safety limits." Felt a small chill. "Higher than safety limits, that is reckless." Or, the technician replied without thinking, "They simply have different safety limits." Shot him a sharp look, and the technician fell silent. On the bridge of one of the new human ships, a soldier named Chris Hall watched the battle grid come into view. He had grown up on a cracked moon where tremors were so common that people learned to walk with a natural counter-sway. Nothing stayed still there, not even the ground. "Looks tight," he said to his captain. "Tight is fine," the captain replied. "Loose is when things fall apart." Their ship slid into a gap near the lead vessel, greeted them with a short signal. "Glad to see you made the trip," he said across the secure channel. "Would not miss it," the other captain answered. "You call, we show up. That is how it works." In the command center on Earth, Laura watched as more icons lit up in human blue. She knew most of these units only by code names, but she also knew their histories. She had read reports of training drills where recruits had to cross burning plains or climb walls of ice while storms tried to tear them from the rock. "They are in position," she told John. "If the push further, they will meet the harshest we have." John nodded. "Then we give them one more chance to make a wise choice." He opened a wide channel and spoke to the flagship. "This is Captain John Carter of Terran Command. Your actions have harmed our people and damaged our station. We have not fired on you yet. We have protected only. Withdraw now. This is your final warning." His voice carried no threat, only fact. Listened. Each word felt heavy. He looked at the display again. Human ships now formed layers, like rings of stone around a core. His first idea of a simple show of force seemed foolish in the face of this response. "They brought in their extreme units," his second officer said quietly. "The ones from their hardest worlds. We have little data on them, but the stories say they endure what others cannot." Closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of turning back. Then he thought of how the council would see him if he did. They would call him weak. They would say he had believed old ghost tales about a violent blue world. His pride won. "Signal to the backup fleets," he ordered. "We proceed. All main batteries will target their forward ships. We break their line, then push through to the outpost ruins and beyond. Once we show them we can crack their best, their will to resist will fall." Weapons crews on the ships began to arm heavy cannons. Energy banks swelled with power. Lines of force built up like storm clouds ready to burst. On the bridge, alarms chimed a low, steady tone. Shield levels adjusted. Weapons moved from standby to ready. "They made their choice," said. "So did we a long time ago," replied. He opened his own channel to the fleet. "This is Commander Brooks. The enemy has chosen to fire. We hold the line. We protect every life behind us. Remember your training, remember your homes. You are not just fighting for one world. You are what that world made of you." Around him, crew members tightened harnesses and checked readings. None shouted. None panicked. They had been here in different forms many times, facing storms, beasts, and quakes. This was simply a new kind of storm. Back at the research outpost, the last group of evacuees cleared the docking ring. Support ships pulled away, engines bright. A young medic named Lily Carson looked out a small port at the distant glow of fleets facing off. "Are we safe?" one of the injured asked her. She did not lie. "We will be," she said. "They will not let anything pass that line." She believed it. She had seen what people from colonies could do when they decided to defend something. In the next instant, the first wave of heavy fire launched from the side. Thick beams of energy crossed the space between fleets. They moved slow to the eye but fast in truth, streaking toward human shields. "Watch them come. Brace," he said. The beams hit. Light engulfed the forward Terran ships. Alarms rose in pitch. Shields flared bright enough to turn stars pale. For a moment, the whole front line looked drowned in white. On Earth, observers squinted at the glare on their screens. "Shield status," John demanded. Numbers flashed. Laura read them aloud. Front line shields down to 65%, some minor hull stress, no breaches. John nodded. He knew what that meant. They had just used a strong opening volley, maybe not their full power, but close. The human ships had taken it and remained standing. On the bridge, waited for reports of broken Terran ships, of gaps in their wall. Instead, he heard a quieter voice. "Their forward line remains intact," the text said. "Shields weakened but still functional. They have not fallen." Felt something twist in his chest. This was not how the story was supposed to go. Did not wait this time. Target their front ranks, he ordered. Aim for weapons arrays, engines, not hull cores. We give them a chance to rethink even now. Fire. Terrans were not first to choose war in this exchange, but they would not stay still under direct attack. From the human ships, a wave of return fire launched. It did not look as clean as the beams. Some shots carried extra charge, others rode on a mix of energy and solid projectiles. It was a blend of many different battle styles learned across harsh worlds. These shots found their marks with brutal accuracy. Alien shields flared, then cracked. One cruiser lost half its gun arrays in a single hit. Another ship spun as its rear engines died. Had trained to adapt, and that talent showed in every targeting change. When one weapon type bounced off a shield, human crews shifted to another in seconds. They switched energy bands, adjusted angles, and pushed forward. In minutes, the empty space between fleets turned into a storm of light and motion. What had started as a silent standoff became the first true clash. And as the battle grew, a new feeling began to spread through the ranks. It was not only fear of death, it was fear of understanding that the stories might have been true all along. On their displays, human ships kept moving with strange confidence, as if they had always known this moment would come. John watched from Earth, Laura at his side. He could not touch the battle directly now. His work had been done in the years before, building, planning, training. The rest he had left in the hands of those who had grown under hard skis and wild storms. "This is only the beginning," Laura said in a low voice. "Yes," John replied. "This is only the part where they learn who they called when they asked for backup." Far out where beams crossed and shields flared, the of Earth held the line and prepared to show the galaxy what it meant to stand in their path. The battle did not slow. If anything, it grew heavier and more focused with every passing minute. Light and shadow twisted together as beams crossed space in long, bright lines. Alarms echoed through both fleets, but the difference in response could be felt even through empty vacuum. On the ships, voices rose and fell in nervous tones. Orders overlapped. Crews tried to follow clean patterns, but fear crept into their limbs. They had trained for controlled conflict, not for enemies who treated pressure like a natural state. On the Terran side, hands moved with steady rhythm. Eyes stayed sharp. Breathing remained slow and even. Every motion came from habit, not panic. To them, chaos was only another condition to work inside. On the bridge of Brooks, the forward screen showed shields flaring and fatting in waves. He watched one of his escort ships take a heavy hit. The outer field dimmed for a breath of a second, then surged back strong. "Shield hold," a tech officer reported. "Damage within acceptable range." Nodded once. "Keep the arc tight, do not chase. We guard, we do not hunt." Stone adjusted course to avoid a drifting cloud of heated debris. Her fingers responded to the controls like they were a part of her. Her eyes tracked multiple vectors at once without strain. "They are shifting again," she said. "New aim pattern from the rear line." Studied the tactical grid. He could see changing strategy, trying to find a weak point, trying to break the wall. Every move carried impatience behind it. Wanted a solid win, and he wanted it fast. On the flagship, the commander felt his control slipping. Some of his outer cruisers had already retreated to regroup. Others had lost weapon arrays or stability systems. This was not the easy display of power he had planned. This was turning into a test of endurance. "Focus all mid-cannons on their lead vessel," he ordered. "Disrupt their command flow. Remove their center." His officers obeyed. A series of heavy emitters angled towards ship. Power surged through alien conduits, building a bright core of gathered force. The Terran sensors detected it at once. "Incoming heavy charge," a voice called out. "Multiple sources." Glanced at, "That is a big one." "We can take it," he replied. "Align deflectors forward and spread output." The crew moved instantly. Layered shields rotated focus. Energy reserves shifted toward the front hull. The tension inside the bridge grew, but no one cried out. They trusted the system and their own skill. When the volley launched, space itself seemed to shine white. Several thick streams struck the lead Terran ship at near the same time. The impact sent vibrations down every corridor. Light burst around the hull in violent ripples. On Earth, John watched the flash through remote feeds. His jaw tightened, but he did not speak. Laura tracked the data with cold focus. Shields holding at 32%, she reported. Stress rising, but no breach. Remained standing. The floor plates buzzed under his boots, then settled. He exhaled once. Return fire, he said. Widespread, keep it controlled. Human gunners obeyed. Their response did not aim for destruction first. They targeted systems. Engines, weapons, sensor hubs. They carved efficiency out of alien formations, one ship at a time. One cruiser lost its main drive in a spark of fractured light. Its forward momentum died, and it drifted sideways, forcing nearby vessels to scatter to avoid collision. Another ship suffered a shield collapse along its flank and pulled back in near panic. Watched the pattern unfold, and for the first time real dread touched him. These humans were not fighting for glory. They were not even fighting for dominance. They were fighting to end a threat. That made them far more dangerous. "Commander," his second officer said, "some captains request withdrawal permission. They claim the enemy formation is too adaptive for clean advance." Clenched his clawed hands. "Deny it," he snapped. "We press forward. If they adapt, so must we. Shock units to the front, full aggression." Shock squadrons launched from the rear of the fleet. These pilots had heavier armor and stronger engines. They had been trained to push into hostile fire and break lines by force. On the human grid, these movements showed as sharp forward spikes. "New charge units," noted. "They are not backing down." "Then we meet them," replied. "Bring in close defense teams. Prepare boarding countermeasures." Human Marines moved through ready corridors. Helmets locked, suits sealed. Men and women from rough worlds checked weapons with calm hands. Among them was Alex Turner, a quiet soldier with eyes like calm water. Beside him stood Grant, who had once survived a month in toxic jungle storms during training. "Looks like they want a visit," said, adjusting her gear. "They picked the wrong door," Alex replied. As shock squads collided with the Terran forward shield line, some of their ships latched onto human hulls using magnetic hooks. The impact rattled metal. Alarms rose in deeper tones. They intended to break the Terran defense by bringing the fight close. "Boarding attempt confirmed," a security officer announced. "Multiple hull contact points." His voice deepened. "Deploy internal response. Keep them off critical paths." In narrow passageways lit by emergency strips, the first alien forms breached the outer layers. They moved with sharp limbs and rigid armor. Their breathing carried a clicking sound. Their eyes studied unfamiliar human corridors with cold calculation. They did not meet fear. Alex and his unit turned the corner and faced them. Without dramatic pause, they engaged. Short, controlled bursts filled the hall. The impact knocked the leading alien backward, rolled to the side, fire precise and steady. Her movements were smooth, not rushed. This was not like fighting other space races. Other species often froze at the sight of a boarding force. Humans did not. They advanced with measured control and brutal efficiency. Alex shouted calm instructions. "Left side locked, push through center, keep pressure." His team obeyed. Every step was calculated. Every shot served a purpose. The aliens began to fall back, stunned by the speed of reaction and lack of emotional display. In another corridor, an officer tried to issue new commands to his boarding team, but panic crept into his voice. The connection crackled, then cut as human countermeasures jammed their signal. On the flagship, saw his shock squads failing to gain ground. His frustration turned into genuine alarm. The humans were not losing control. They were absorbing attack, adjusting, and responding faster each time. It was like fighting a storm that learned your movements. "Increase pressure on their flanks," he ordered, his voice strained. "Break their side integrity." But even as he spoke, more Terran ships slid into position, reinforcing weak points with calm precision. The defensive wall did not break. It flexed, it shifted, but it held. Back on Earth, Laura observed the unexpected balance. "They are not overcommitting," she said. "They let the enemy tire first." "That is how you survive on a cruel world," John replied. "You do not waste your breath." Inside the Terran lead ship, the boarding attempt slowed. Alex and his unit pushed the remaining aliens back toward the breach section. Sealing foam expanded. Emergency bulkheads slid shut with heavy force. Alex leaned against the wall for a short second. His breathing stayed under control. "Area clear," he reported. "Good work," replied over the comm. "Return to standby and stay alert." "Always," Alex said. Out in space, guided the ship through a slow shift to adjust for new approach angles. She noticed how easily the vessel responded, as if it shared her own stubborn will. "They are losing pattern discipline," she observed. "Their lines look messy now." "Pressure exposes truth," answered. "Ours too." And the truth of humanity showed in every movement. These were people born on a world that punished weakness and rewarded patience. Their ancestors had learned to defend against cold, heat, predators, and natural disasters. Space was simply another enemy to master. "Watch more damage," reports scroll across his display. "Shields low, weapons offline, ships requesting emergency retreat." His mind raced. He had summoned backup to overwhelm. Instead, he had drawn his people into a grinder of calm resistance. He saw now that humans were not defending their space only with technology. They defended it with mindsets shaped by relentless survival. "Commander," his second officer whispered, "casualties rising. If we continue this push, we risk losing full formation structure." Closed his eyes and opened them again. For a brief moment, the image of those silent humans standing firm burned in his thoughts. Not aggressive, not pleading, only unmovable. "Prepare a tactical pause," he said slowly. "Redirect heavy units to stabilize." Some officers looked surprised, but they did not question further. The fleet shifted, movement slowing just slightly as they regrouped. On the Terran side, noticed the change. "They hesitate," murmured. "Good," he replied. "That means they are thinking, and thinking is how wars end." He opened a channel toward Earth. "Enemy pressure decreasing, boarding attempts contained, our line intact." "Acknowledged," John responded. "Maintain position, do not press beyond the mark." Looked at the broken alien ships drifted among the stars. Flashes still lit the space between fleets, but the pattern had lost its earlier aggression. What had been a confident assault now looked more like a strained effort to survive contact. Inside one cruiser, a young pilot stared at his cracked display. He thought of home skis that never howled with storms, of peaceful city glow and smooth metal towers. This place felt like standing in front of a wild ocean that did not care if you sank. "They feel different," he whispered to no one. "They do not fight like others." He was right. Humans did not fight as invaders trying to claim world. They fought as guardians of something that refused to fall. Back on the lead Terran ship, watched the stars flicker as battle noise softened. He knew the third phase had arrived. Fear had taken root in the enemy, and with fear came hesitation. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He only waited. He knew this moment would decide what followed. Would they withdraw and learn respect, or would pride drag them further into a fight they could not win? Far across the void, Commander stared at the silent human fleet and felt something shift inside him. The warning now echoed louder than the weapon's fire. And for the first time since crossing the forbidden line, He understood that the stories about had never been exaggeration at all. The guns did not fall silent all at once. The last heavy shots faded into scattered flashes and then into distant glow. Space breathed again, slow and empty, as both fleets held position. The shift from violence to pause felt strange, like waking from a harsh dream and finding the air still steady. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander remained still. His eyes moved across damage reports and fatting heat maps. The neat lines he had once admired now looked broken and uneven. Lost ships drifted in dull silence. Injured vessels limped back towards safer distance. His second officer spoke with care. "Commander, the Terrans have not advanced. They remain on their marked line. Their weapons are hot, but they are not pressing forward." Gave a slow nod. "They defend, not pursue, that is clear now." He looked again at the image of the human fleet. They stood like a wall of iron and calm but steady. He felt something he had not expected. It was not rage, it was not shame. It was respect, heavy and undeniable. On the Terran side, Brooks kept his eyes on the same view. Stone checked readouts and saw the change in hostile posture. "Power levels dropping," she said. "Their guns are cooling." Rested his hands on the rail before him. "They are deciding." Back on Earth, John Carter watched the same pattern unfold through soft flickering screens. Laura Miles sat beside him, focused but calm. "This may be the moment," she said, "if they choose sense over pride." John gave a quiet nod. "If they do not, we will still not move first." Minutes stretched. Then a new signal reached Terran scanners. A wide open channel, slow and careful, not a sharp command. On its bridge, the communication light flashed. "Incoming message from flagship," a tech officer said. Hesitated only a second, then replied, "Route it here." His image formed on the screen. He no longer carried the rigid confidence of his first demand. His posture remained firm, but his eyes held a clearer light. "Terran Commander," said, his tone level, "this is Commander of the Collective. We acknowledge your defense and the damage inflicted upon our forces. This conflict has reached a point of reconsideration." Listened without movement. "You crossed into protected space and fired on a civilian outpost. Our response has been restraint and protection. State your intent." Breath slowly. "We seek suspension of hostilities and request dialogue terms. Our presence here was driven by misjudgment and flawed assumptions." Those words moved through the Terran bridge like a change in weather. Crew members exchanged looks, but no one cheered. "Your forces remain within our line," said. "Withdraw to the last marked point, then we will speak further." Inclined his head, understood. He ended the channel and turned to his officers. "Order gradual pullback. Maintain shields, no firing. We will not test them further." Engines shifted. Damaged ships adjusted course, their movement now careful and steady. The distance between fleets widened, meter by meter, then kilometer by kilometer. On display, the red threat markers slowly moved back. He did not relax, not yet. John watched the retreat and spoke softly. "They are obeying." Laura allowed a small breath, "because they finally understand." When the alien fleet reached the outer boundary, opened the channel again. "We acknowledge your withdrawal," he said. "Hold position there. Negotiations will proceed." Answered, "We will comply." Silence returned in a different shape this time. Not the tense quiet of imminent violence, but the careful pause of two sides standing at a border of new understanding. Inside the Terran fleet, systems powered down from full combat readiness to sustained alert. Crews began silent inspections. Damaged teams moved through corridors patching scorched panels and cracked plating. The air smelled faintly of heated metal and cooled circuits. Alex Turner walked through one hallway with his team, checking sealed sections and spent gear. Grant looked at the scuffed floor where alien boots had scraped moments earlier. "They came in confident," she said, "left unsure." "They learned," Alex replied. Like everyone else does sooner or later. On the side, wounded pilots lay in med bays under soft light. Technicians worked through damaged systems. Every screen told a story of surprise and hard lesson. The word passed in hushed tones through corridors and command nodes. Watched his recording of the battle again, not for blame but for reflection. He paused on the image of the calm Terran line, still unbroken even as fire washed over it. "We did not understand them," he murmured. His second officer nodded. "We saw hardness and thought it was exaggeration. We see now it is culture shaped by survival." Hours later, a formal communication channel opened. The tone changed from sharp military codes to structured diplomatic speech. John Carter and Laura Miles stood before a wide display showing members of the Galactic Council as observers. His image appeared again, now framed with official insignia. His voice was clear and steady. "On behalf of the collective," he said, "I recognize the sovereignty and protected status of Terran space. Our incursion was an error of judgment. Our attack on the research outpost was unjustified. We will provide restitution as required by interstellar accord." There was no hesitation in his words. John replied calmly, "Terran Command accepts acknowledgement. Be advised that our boundaries will not change and our readiness will not weaken. Peaceful contact only occurs with mutual respect." "That lesson has now been learned," said. Around the council chamber, quiet approval passed between delegates. Many had feared this moment would end in endless war. Now they watched a more controlled outcome form. After the channel closed, John turned slightly toward Laura. "Status of our fleet." "Minor losses, surface damage mostly, high morale," she answered. They knew why they stood there. "They always do," he said. Out in the quiet belt of stars, let his gaze rest on the fatting silhouettes of ships. He opened a general fleet message. "All units stand down from high alert, remain aware. Recovery operations begin. No celebrations, no boasting. We did our duty. That is enough." Acknowledgement signals flowed back like soft echoes. Leaned back slightly in her chair, not the loud finish some expected. "No," said, "but the right one. Soundless strength lasts longer." As repairs continued, the research outpost was brought into stable orbit around a support carrier. Lily Carson moved between injured crew members with renewed calm. Her hands were gentle, her voice reassuring. "You are safe now," she told an exhausted technician. The man nodded weakly. "They really held them." "They always do," she replied. "That is what they trained for." On Earth, news did not spread in wild fear or shining glory. It traveled with quiet pride. Reports spoke of defense, control, and restraint. People slept easier knowing the line had held. In a modest apartment city far from any command tower, families watched the distant images of fleets returning. They saw ships and calm faces. They saw the cost and the strength behind it. Weeks later, formal talks began through secure networks. Exchange of data, mapping of safe borders, formation of clear contact protocols. The word Terran no longer carried only mystery for the galaxy. It carried caution and respect. Stood before his leaders and spoke of what he had seen. "They are not savage," he said. "They are disciplined and shaped by harsh youth. Their world taught them endurance before they learned diplomacy. To challenge them without reason is folly. To approach them with care may create lasting balance." Some hesitated, others nodded. Memory of shattered cruisers carried its own weight. Back in Terran space, the fleets returned to scattered posts and extreme colonies. Some returned to frozen storms, others to suffocating heat or deep toxic jungles. Their lives resumed the same steady rhythm. Alex Turner stood once more on a training deck, listening to distant thunder echo from a planet below. He inhaled slowly, steady as always. "Think it will happen again?" a new recruit asked. "Maybe," Alex said, But next time they will remember this time. Walked past, a faint smile forming, and if they forget, we will remind them. Far away, Brooks looked one last time at the open field where the battle had unfolded. The stars now shone unbroken again. He felt no pride, only calm acceptance of the moment's end. "We held," he said quietly. Nodded, and they saw who we are. On Earth, John and Laura shared a quiet pause in their office. No alarm sounded. No desperate voices filled the air. "The galaxy knows now," Laura said. "Humans are not a rumor." John gazed out at the curve of the planet through clear glass. "They knew all along," he replied. "They just never believed it was true." The final reports made it to distant worlds. Messages filled with new caution, new understanding. The phrase no longer sounded like an insult. It sounded like a truth born from unforgiving soil and endless storms. And in the silence that followed war, the galaxy learned a lesson that would endure longer than any echo of fire. Some borders are drawn not with threat but with strength. Some defenders do not shout. They simply stand, and standing is enough.